Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, Week 13 reaction show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler, and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game.
Flex on him.
I actually like that sweatshirt too, Zach. I think that's a nice one. Nice little tie-dye, light pink there.
It's like cotton candy.
Yeah.
Favorite ice cream flavor.
Yeah.
I don't have my shades today. I left them in my other car, but...
Hold on. What do you mean favorite ice cream flavor?
I like cotton candy ice cream.
No, you didn't say you liked it. You said it was your favorite.
It is my favorite flavor.
Yeah, I actually missed that too. That's a pretty absurd
This is like saying birthday cake is your favorite flavor. Like, maybe it's all right.
I mean, put some rainbow sprinkles on there. It tastes... I mean, it's fantastic. I go cotton candy, then cookies and cream number 2.
Folks, if you've got a favorite ice cream flavor, comment it down below. If your favorite happens to be cotton candy, you can comment and prove me wrong. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to comment cotton frickin' candy.
I bet you a lot of comments come in to defend me. I bet you a lot of comments defend me.
Well, our majority of listeners is not 5 to 12-year-olds, so that could be...
I know 12-year-old girls.
I know.
5 to 12-year-old girls. You know, thank God we didn't go to that Steeler game. There were some rumors that Jack and I were going to pack up Ziggy and head to Pittsburgh this weekend with one of our friends. And, you know, I'm sure I could say this because there's no way in hell that certain people listen to this show, but we were going to head out. One of our friends was, you know, flirting a little bit with a Pittsburgh girl at a New York City bar. And for some reason, our friend group has problems with that.
I'm in love with a Pittsburgh girl.
Our friend group has problems with talking to girls who, for some reason, live in Pittsburgh all the time.
They're pretty out in Pittsburgh.
Happened more than once, which is way too many times for any friend group.
And they happen to be neighbors, too.
And they happen to be neighbors.
Well,
yeah,
the multiple we were talking happen to be neighbors. That's very funny.
The Steeler game was miserable today. That's currently ongoing. 2 weather delays. We'll talk about the Steelers a little bit later on.
We don't need to.
Also, a little bit of the CFP reaction. Briefly, we'll keep that limited because we could go on forever and ever. Dolphins, big win today, Zach. We'll hit them in just a little bit. Lions, Saints. But the opening game here for us, we're sort of a Houston Texans pod at this point. Like,
yeah,
to a degree.
Half our subs are Texans, half our Packers.
Yeah, that's our show. Texans win 22-17. Huge goal line stand against the Denver Broncos to come away with another win to improve to 7-5 on the year. And I felt like watching this game, it was a massive game. We know the playoff implications. It felt like 2 playoff caliber teams going at it. And then I turn on the Steeler game, or I watch a little bit of the Colts playing, or, you know, look at the Browns the past few weeks. A topsy-turvy world with the AFC playoff picture right now, where the Texans, Broncos, and the Bills were all the 3 teams out coming into this week, and the Colts, Steelers, and Browns were the 3 teams in, which just doesn't feel right to me after watching these games and seeing the caliber of play on the field. But that's the world we live in at the moment. This win, I believe, puts the Texans back in right now. It depends how they're seeded with the Colts, who are also 7-5. But they turned Denver over 3 times and get a huge pick, Jimmy Ward, to end the game. Your boy Derek Stingley with 2 interceptions. One, did you see the incredible one he had?
Yeah.
Cutting across Cortland Sutton. Just a game-changing play from Stingley, who's really turned it on this season. And the Texans, get a big win, but lose Tank Dell. And that is crushing. It's to my fantasy team, both my fantasy teams, and to the Texans, because he was having just an unbelievable rookie season. It looks like he's out for the year. Is that right? We're going over to
so that's my guess. We've got a broken tibia. Usually that kind of injury, the absolute floor is 6 weeks, but usually it's closer to 2 to 3 months. And I think it's just 6 weeks is already putting you mid-January, right? So I think it's just unlikely he's going to be ready to play for the rest of the season, though it shouldn't linger on past the season.
Let me ask you guys, when we watch the Texans play right now, do you see a team that feels like their ceiling would be just a playoff berth? Or can you see them actually making some noise in an AFC right now that's kind of weak?
I mean, the AFC as a whole, this is a team who could absolutely reach the postseason. That's a very clear-cut goal, and a goal that should be on their minds. The AFC as a whole is not that strong. To me, there's only a certain number of teams who I would say, okay, they're probably going to beat Houston today. And that's most likely if they go to Kansas City or Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Anybody outside of that, and that's including Jacksonville. They beat them once already. That's including the Dolphins. I think that Houston could beat.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say maybe Baltimore and Kansas City would be a stretch, but outside of those 2, I don't see why not.
Which is almost striking.
Think this is a good team.
From where we were just, early in the season. You had the Chargers people were talking about. Steelers looked good at times. Their defense we know is very good. And then the Bengals lose Burrow. Browns lose Watson. we've seen a lot of teams in the AFC fall off this season, which opens the door for people like the Broncos and people like the Texans. And now we're sitting here, Ziggy. Where are you at with Houston?
The door's open a little bit, and I think this is going to become much more apparent to folks as the season starts to wind down. In the AFC, there is an enormous difference between the 5 seed and every other wild card spot. Right? If you get the 5 seed, you're going to Jacksonville, and the Texans have already shown they can win in Jacksonville. They've done it this year. I'm assuming they don't win the division. If they do, obviously things change, but then you're just playing whoever gets the 5. But if you're at the 6, you got to go to Kansas City or Baltimore or Miami. Same with 7, same with 8. Same with 6, same with 7. Yeah. So like either way, Zach, you can tell us, what playing the Dolphins on the road or at home for the Dolphins is like. Going to Baltimore, tough. Going to Kansas City, tough. So getting that 5 seed is going to be critical. Now, they don't have the tiebreaker against the Colts yet, right? That was one of their first games of the season. They lost. But week 18, they do play Indianapolis. They get a chance to get that back.
How are the Colts? How are the Colts in the middle of the AFC playoff picture right now?
I feel you said this last week, right? The Steelers, Browns, and Colts are in the picture. The Texans, Broncos, and Bills, all 3 of those teams are better than each of the teams above them. I don't know, Paul. I'm just praying that we get some mixing up and some good teams actually make the playoffs and get these wild card spots.
I mean, this really was, though, a terrible, terrible injury to their number 1 receiver. I mean, CJ Stroud has looked awesome, but Tank Dell has helped in large part the development week by week from CJ Stroud.
Well, he's growing with him, too.
Yeah, he's growing with him. I mean, you need guys like Nico Collins. What do you have? 117 yards in 1 quarter today.
Nico's been awesome.
You need some more of that, and he's been great.
Noah Brown also has been very good.
Yeah, you need those guys to step up. I think they're still fine, but a huge injury for sure.
Well, that further goes on with my point here that if CJ Stroud gets the Texans to the playoffs, I think it might be the most impressive accomplishment by a rookie quarterback in the history of football.
Nope.
Think about where the Houston Texans were at the start of this season. Most people had them as the worst or the second worst team in the NFL.
It is an unbelievable accomplishment, but it's not the best.
Listen, though, just let me finish this point here. It's that defense with a rookie head coach, basically no one on defense that you were confident in, rookie quarterback, receivers who we all agreed Ohio State had better receivers last year, Dameon Pierce and Derek and Singletary were your running backs. To go to the playoffs with that team for CJ Stroud, it'd be a top 5 MVP candidate. I think right now what he's doing will wind up being the best accomplishment for a rookie quarterback.
No,
if he gets there.
That's a blasphemous take.
If he gets there.
That is a blasphemous take.
Well, you're a big Steeler fan.
I'm not going to argue with you. Nobody cares. I'm not going to argue back and forth for 10 minutes. But Big Ben was 13-0, made the AFC Championship game. So enough. But
with the number 1 defense in football.
Carry on.
With only 7.
With a team who was 6-10 the year before. What do you magically now go 15-1 and he goes 13-0?
Yeah.
Makes a championship game. Stop.
Carried by the defense.
Ridiculous.
The Houston Texans win games because of CJ Stroud.
They were the number 1 seed a year after being 6-10.
Yeah.
He wins 13 games in a row, doesn't lose in the regular season, and then goes to the AFC chip. I'll wrap it up. I'm not going to argue with you, but that's a stupid take.
Averaging 1 touchdown a game. Just put it out there.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Jim McMahon had the best season ever with the 85 Bears.
I'm not going to argue with you on that. It's a stupid take.
Okay. So we all think that Houston has, when we look at their potential, where would we cap it right now? Maybe divisional round, and then you lose to Baltimore, Kansas City, probably.
On the road in the divisional round to a team like Kansas City. Let's say a 5-1 game.
Which they could win that game. I don't think that's crazy to say they could win. But that feels like it would probably be the spot to see them exit this year.
That they would need a game where you turn over Mahomes 3 times. Something like that.
Mm-hmm, but Ziggy, you question?
No, I think that's basically the ceiling. The only thing is, they are 7-5. They have a chance to win the division if things slip for the Jaguars. The Chiefs are 8-3. The Ravens are 9-3. So getting some better seeding isn't totally out of the question with the schedule they've got. They just need to keep winning games, let things go as they will. And frankly, if you're winning a playoff game with a team that at the start of the season had the 2nd lowest win total in the NFL, you're doing pretty good. I think they actually have already beaten their offseason win total. I think it was set at 6.5. So this takes them over.
I thought it was lower than 6.5.
All their games have been 1-score possessions lately as well. You got the Jets, the Titans, the Browns, the Titans, and the Colts coming up. I know.
It's the Vikings.
It's the Vikings of the AFC.
So next year, it's going to go top.
You have those 5 games coming up. you have to imagine you'd pick Houston to win each of those football. They probably won't go 5-0, but the schedule's there. The path is there. Texans fans should be really excited. Just win every game you can. The offense is talented enough to compete with most teams in the conference, and that's what you need in the AFC.
Yeah, look, another clean game from Stroud today, too. Almost 300 yards, touchdown, no turnovers. They won the turnover battle themselves. They forced 3 against Russell Wilson in Denver. And if their defense can have these games where they kind of step up, they play well, they hold their opponent to minimal points, and Stroud plays clean like he has for the most part, they're tough to beat.
That's exactly what we said, too. We could switch over to Denver for a little bit. We mentioned that Denver coming into this game, 5-game winning streak, what had they been doing really well? Well, in addition to Russell Wilson, they were turning people over. Kansas City had 5 turnovers. Bills had 3. Vikings had 4. Last week, the Browns had 3. CJ Stroud protects the football very well. And we said that's what it would come down to. Can they make the rookie make mistakes? Which generally he hasn't this year. And when Denver turns it over 3 times, they're playing much better football, but they're not good enough to overcome 3 turnovers, especially against a playoff caliber team like the Texans. So today you sort of finally saw the reality come back for Denver a little bit, in that you're not going to turn everyone over 3+ times a game. And when you do it yourself, it's very hard to win. But Russell Wilson still looks really good to me. This is a tough Texans team, tough place to go into Houston and win on the road, even though there were a ton of Broncos fans. The crowd was, honestly, maybe even pro-Denver. Fans, yeah. But Russell Wilson, I still think he's moving around way better right now than he was earlier in the season, and definitely better than last year. Broncos, it's a really tough loss because you get down to the 8-yard line, you want to punch it in and win that game, feel like you steal one from Houston. But I look ahead at what they have coming up. If you can you just try and get a win at the Chargers and at the Lions. And then after that, it's Pats hosting the Chargers and at the Raiders. I still am pretty confident that they could sneak in, given with how Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Indianapolis look.
I mean, it's gonna be hard. It's so jumbled up there, and I'd probably say that they lose to the Lions. They probably lose in LA, but you never know. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, they played a decent football game today for the most part. Like Russ, a little scramble there on the 4th down, used his legs pretty well, and it's a game that they very well could have won. They first and goal from the 8-yard line at the end, despite turning the ball over.
Probably should have won at the end.
Yeah, despite turning the ball over twice prior. Just the turnaround as a whole for this team after being 0-3, losing by 50 points, and we're talking about the blowing it all up and having the number 1 pick, and what do you do now? Like, I think this turnaround, this goes back to Ziggy's prediction on Sean Payton's Coach of the Year. I mean, it might be coming to fruition, but the most impressive rock bottom to improvement that I've seen in a long time from this team.
All I'm saying is Broncos playoff picture is officially over.
Oh, come on, really?
Look, you can run the numbers. I pulled up the old New York Times playoff simulator this morning to see how it goes. Losing this game makes it extremely difficult. Like, we're talking less than 10%. They're going to have to win at the Chargers and win at the Lions, I think, to have even a coin flip chance of making the playoffs.
Why?
Like you said, Jack.
Who are you that confident in, Ziggy? Who's ahead of them?
Here's the thing. They're 6-6. There are so many teams in that AFC picture that have leads over them or are better teams. They've still got a difficult enough schedule. I'm not confident that this Broncos team is going to... If you can't beat the Texans, I'm not confident that you're going to win at Detroit. I'm not confident that you're going to beat the Chargers 2 times.
The Chargers game next week is, if they lose that one, because I don't see them beating Detroit on the road either. If they beat the Chargers, I do think they'll find their way in. If they lose that one, then there's still a lot of games left.
The Chargers, that's a beatable team too.
Oh, yeah, for most people,
for sure, yeah, like most people should be able to beat the Chargers.
They're another weird team though, where you catch them on the wrong day and you can't stop them.
And they can light you up.
Yeah, but the Denver offense, and they've been better, but I don't know if they can get in a shootout.
Look, what do you finish? You think 9-8?
What are they right now? 6-6. I mean, 9-8. Yeah, that would be the finish. Does that get into the AFC?
I don't know. Maybe they're on the cusp.
I mean, Buffalo's sitting here. We've said it before. Buffalo's sitting here very quietly. They need to get one of these tough wins, and they have a really difficult schedule going forward. But they're the one team that I don't want. If I'm an AFC division winner, I mean, how much would that suck for the Dolphins to have to play the Bills?
The Bills, yeah.
That'd be miserable. But yeah, I look at Denver.
They finally get to play the Bills at home.
Yeah, they do get the Bills
in an important game.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at
the excuse from Zach when they lose that game.
Steelers losing to the Cardinals is just brutal.
What's the score now?
They're 17-3 still.
Fourth quarter, yeah?
Yeah, fourth quarter.
Mitch Trubisky's not getting you guys the win.
No way. Yeah.
I was watching the Steeler game, and I texted you when this happened. It was 3rd and 4, maybe the 45-yard line, something like that, your own 40. And you threw a little bubble screen. And not even bubble screen. I think you just threw it out to Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, behind the line.
Behind the line of scrimmage, and you just got blown up by 3 Cardinals. They said, that's Matt Canada right there. For all that we made fun of the Steelers and applauded them actually then for firing Canada, that did the same exact bullshit.
No, the ghost of Matt Canada is still in the booth right now. He's not all gone yet.
Jaylen Warren leads the league in rushing since week 9. Did you know that?
No.
Jaylen Warren, he has 370 something yards.
And I saw us give the ball to Najee on the 1 today, 4th and inches. He got stuffed.
But he was running well too. I mean, a couple drives early in the
was.
game, Pittsburgh's going right down the field, and then crazy how they've gone from. I was assuming they were going to get into the playoffs given their schedule, to then losing to the Cardinals at home. It's I don't know about.
And we'll lose
Pittsburgh
to the Patriots too on Thursday night at home too.
Well, that'll be miserable. That's like watching Iowa play like Minnesota.
Northwestern. Yeah, Minnesota.
That's a horrible game. Okay, who else we got here? So the Dolphins, Zach, take on the Commanders. We know what happens in games when the Dolphins play crappy teams. They light them up. Happens time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
What was the final score on this one? 45-15.
I turned it off when it was like...
It was on the road?
On the road. It was on the road, which was impressive.
On the road. Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is just crazy to watch. He had another huge game today, too. 160-yard touchdown. What was the other one?
78 yards.
78 yards. When he gets the ball, he's just so shifty. It's pretty unbelievable to watch. I was talking with Zach on the car ride over here. With the way the AFC is shaping up, and we just talked about this a little bit, but amongst the contenders, is Miami the second most trusted AFC team right now? Because Kansas City's starting to falter a little bit. Baltimore, we're pretty confident in Baltimore's offense and defense, but then again, in the playoffs, Lamar sometimes disappears. What's your confidence level on Miami right now, heading into what should be an AFC East title?
I mean, I've said this before. I really would have loved to see the Dolphins wind up, and I guess it's still possible, with the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Oh, it's they're currently the 1 seed.
The Dolphins are the 1 seed right now.
They currently, I mean, we have to see what happens. If the Chiefs win tonight, they
lost to Kansas City.
But as we do this podcast, they are the 1 seed.
If the Dolphins are the number 1 seed in the AFC, that's probably the most dangerous team in the AFC, yes. Because they can score like nobody else can score. They have playmakers upon playmakers. And if they host throughout, then they're the most dangerous team. Like I was saying, they're the 2 or the 3 seed have to go on the road, then probably not. But the number 1 seed going through Miami with a team who can score how they can score, yes.
So the Dolphins end with hosting Tennessee, hosting the Jets, so you should win both of those.
If there's a team,
look at that.
If there's a team, let's say you're on your own 20-yard line, right? And you're down by 6 points, there's a minute left. Who am I betting my life on to go and score in a short amount of time? It's the Miami Dolphins.
So here's how the Chiefs end. They host Buffalo, they go to New England, they host the Raiders, they host the Bengals, they go to the Chargers. That's in addition to Green Bay later tonight. Do you see a loss there?
That's a winnable. They should win all those games.
Buffalo's the only one really where you think they might lose.
But I mean,
they should still win that.
The Dolphins played a close game with Kansas City. Could have won that game. Like I mean, they could beat Kansas City.
Oh, they can. The Dolphins' chance here, you have to go to Baltimore. You play the Ravens in Baltimore week 17.
I'm not scared of Baltimore.
If the Dolphins win that game, they'll probably be the 2 seed. Or they'll be very much in the running for the 2 seed, maybe even the 1. That's the one to watch right now.
My final answer, bottom of the line, is I think right now the most dangerous team in the AFC is Baltimore. And I might have Miami at 3.
This is what the Dolphins do, though. They make you believe. We're like, oh, could the Dolphins be dangerous? And then they'll go into Baltimore and lose 45-3.
They have the 1 seed, though. They're going to the Super Bowl.
You need the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Ziggy, when you look at the AFC, how do you rank those 3? Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Dolphins.
They can score like nobody else.
It's tough. I mean, I have to think Kansas City figures it out. I just have to put them at 1. I'm sorry. I know what we've seen this year. I know they haven't looked their best, but that's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So they got to be 1. And then the Dolphins at 2, Ravens at 3. I feel like any of those teams could be good. Every single game, we get a little bit more data on each. But it's got to be the Chiefs first. The Dolphins and the Ravens, do whatever you want with.
Jaguars fans are sitting back here right now saying, hey, we're going to be 9-3 after we beat the Bengals.
They know that they're...
Do they?
They're a distant
I don't know if they do.
They're a distant 4.
Here, James Conner rushes to Pittsburgh end zone for 9 yards.
24th.
You get stomped by the Cardinals.
24th right now.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Jaguars lost 34-3 at home.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
I have James Conner on my fantasy team. We're living now.
If the Ravens or the Dolphins or the Chiefs hosted San Francisco, they're not losing by 30 points.
The Ravens, the Dolphins, or the Chiefs?
Yeah. Jags lost by 30 points to San Francisco at home.
Yes.
But they're a very good team, but number 4. And a clear-cut number 4.
Man, I want to believe in Miami so bad, but every time we see them in these big games, they don't show up. That's the problem.
I'll tell you what, man. The NFL needs to come in there and just ban the deep ball to Tyreek Hill. They're the only team that can do it. It's so effective. Other teams find it unstoppable. They've spent all offseason trying to scheme up ways to beat it, and they just can't. Since apparently we're just banning plays that teams are good at, I think we should ban the Tyreek Hill go routes.
The tush push.
What is more of a glitch? The Tyreek Hill deep ball or the tush push?
The tush push.
The tush push.
The tush push.
I feel like every time Tua drops back to pass and launches the ball to Hill, he's 15 yards open. And it's
that might be the most
touchdown.
exciting, like the most exciting individual play in football or moment in football might be Tua getting ready to launch a pass. You go, all right, let's see how far
Hill's
Tyreek can.
wide open by 8 yards, and nobody's around him, and he waltzes to the end zone.
I feel for these NFL defensive coordinators. Like, imagine you're like a player on a defense against the Dolphins, and every single play, you know that if you blink, Tyreek Hill is just going to score an 80-yard touchdown. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, did you see Travis Kelce talk about it? They were talking. I think Jason Kelce said, "Oh, he's so fast" on their podcast, and Travis just started laughing and said, "Dude, if you see it in person, it's unbelievable."
Imagine if Hill and Kelce are on the same team.
Imagine.
But then
They'd be unstoppable.
If Hill, like if it's not Hill, it's Waddle with a slant, and nobody can catch him in open field. It's impossible.
I don't know how the Bills do it. I don't know how the Bills find a way, Zach. I completely skipped over the Lions and the Saints game. That was supposed to be our number 2. We went through everything else. The Lions win 33-28 in New Orleans. And if any Lions fans had a sour taste in their mouth, Dan Campbell and company got it out early with a 21-0 lead in the first half of the first quarter, which I think is the third time ever that 3 touchdowns were scored in the first 7 or 8 minutes. What was kind of crazy was the other 2 times it happened since 2000 were both the Raiders, which I would never have guessed that was the case. But the Lions get out to a big lead, and then New Orleans claws back and really makes an entertaining fourth quarter. But ultimately, Detroit, Dan Campbell, we say sometimes his risk-taking can be detrimental. But today on 3rd and 9, throws the ball, otherwise gives it back to New Orleans with about 2 minutes left in the game. But he picks up the first down, wins the game. That's what I'm begging O'Connell to do. Just win the game. When you have an opportunity, get it done. Don't give the ball back to the other team if you can avoid it. So Detroit here, it's so crazy how like a little difference. If New Orleans comes back and wins, sky's falling. It's chaos in Detroit. Now they win and we go, okay, comfortable NFC North lead. Yeah. Can this team go and win the NFC?
I mean, the Lions early on in this game established what they wanted to. The Saints struggle with the run. And the Lions take pride in how good they can run the ball, how strong they can be up front. And right off the bat, we saw them running the ball. Got up to an immediate lead, 21-0 in the first, 10 minutes of the game. And what Dan Campbell also has stressed is in recent games, the Lions have not been great in the turnover battle. They've lost them. And today they won it. Forced a couple big turnovers in big spots, too.
They got after Carr, too.
Yeah. Saints had a good comeback for sure, but the Lions were noticeably the better team. You're on the road. It was a good win overall. They took it to them early, and then thank God they ended up holding on. Good game. Sam Laporta stepped up big time.
Sam Laporta was awesome today.
Great game from Gibbs. The rookies played very well.
Yeah, Sam Laporta is who Kyle Pitts was supposed to be, right? He's immediately stepped in and been one of the biggest receiving threats in the offense. Anyone who's gotten him in fantasy has to be pretty happy. But I think a lot of people are going to look at this second half of the Lions game and say, well, the Lions, they're not a real contender. They almost lost to the Saints, whatever. It's clear they let things off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
But what you needed to see from the Lions this game was a get right sort of game, right? Where they figure things out. They stop some of the troubles they've had and they stop the backsliding. They're 9-3. They're firmly in control of the division. They'll be just fine. And this was another game that showed it.
You got to see a little bit today, too, of how they've improved so much offensively, even from last year when they were coming on towards the end of the season. It's all the weapons they have. With Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams on that end around.
Amon-Ra scored today, right?
Amon-Ra scored. Jameson Williams, if he starts coming on, I know he didn't have a huge game. That dude's so freaking fast. When he turned on the Jets on the reverse touchdown, I just sat back and went, oh my God, he could be a problem. If he ever figures it out, Detroit's got another one on their hands here. The playoff game Detroit has, whenever they play San Francisco or Philadelphia, which I do expect to happen. I'd be surprised if anyone who's going to be their first round matchup. It'll probably be Minnesota or Green Bay.
Home against like the Rams,
right? Or the Rams. Because who will be the 4? Probably. Oh my gosh, New Orleans or Tampa
Saints or
Atlanta.
Bucks.
So yeah,
would be the Seahawks.
Maybe they'll win that game. When they go up against Philadelphia or San Francisco, I think you'll be able to tell pretty quickly whether or not they're going to be in that game. And the way they looked in the first quarter against New Orleans, bullying them around, that's exactly, like you said, that's exactly who Detroit wants to be.
Yeah.
And if they're able to match San Francisco and Philly, toughness for toughness in the beginning of that playoff game, you could have a really fun rock fight on your hands. I can also see a situation where Goff comes out and gets destroyed and
throws 3 picks.
It's either going to be a great game. There's no way Detroit blows out either of them. It'll either be a great game back and forth or
Detroit gets
blown out.
To win in the NFC, you need to be strong and physical up front, which is a bit different than the AFC. And Detroit, that's their strength. That's what they want their identity to be. They're big, they're physical, they want to run the ball. They have 2 good running backs, kind of a thunder and lightning type group there with Gibbs and Montgomery. Saw that more today against New Orleans. They are able to push San Francisco and Philly, or at least capable of that, which not many other teams are.
And Dallas too. No, I don't think anyone else in the NFC can say they can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's been those 3 teams for a while now in the NFC. The past couple of years, it's been Philly, San Francisco, and Dallas, and the rest of the pack. Detroit has the capability of getting there.
Yeah, they do.
Any closing takeaways on the Lions, Ziggy, or you?
I'll just say this: if I'm a Lions fan, I am hoping that the 49ers do what they're supposed to and beat the Eagles, because that would open just a little bit of a window for them to start looking at that 1 seed, look at the chance of getting that bye. And while I don't trust this Detroit team to go into Philly and win, if they can somehow get that seed, Super Bowl's on in Detroit.
6-0 Philly right now. And if you're listening a day late, we record after the 1:00 game, so we'll know what happens, or you'll know what happens by the time you're listening.
Philly was a home dog in the link,
and you got a lot of crap for that too.
What?
You got a lot of crap for that. Who do you think had a better day?
It's early.
I mean, actually, what a great day for Michigan people. Lions win. Michigan's the 1 seed. Actually, I don't know.
No, this is a way to screw over Michigan.
Is it a great day for Michigan people? I don't know.
You see the reaction? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Michigan's dead. Michigan's
dead. Not happy. This is a horrible day for Michigan fans.
Michigan's dead.
I don't understand what's going on. Nick Saban is getting a full month to prepare for JJ McCarthy, and people are acting like Nick Saban's not about to win by double digits.
That game won't be close.
Plus 2.5 at open.
It's not going to be. Bama's going to blow them out. It'll be 10-0 in the first 3 minutes, and Michigan.
Oh God, Zach, Ziggy and Zach, you guys weren't there. Jack and I were hanging out last night watching the Michigan-Iowa game because for the thrill of it, we were thinking, hey, you know what? It could be kind of fun to throw some money.
We thought they could score 7
throw
points.
Throw a little money
right?
on Iowa. 6.5 team total over. All it takes is 1 touchdown.
Lose 42-7. Lose 31-7.
Like for the thrill, let's throw some money on it.
55-10.
Oh my God, it is the least thrilling thing I've ever done in my life watching Iowa football.
I don't know why you didn't just quit at halftime. I'll wake up tomorrow and see the outcome.
It was supposed to be fun. We were supposed to sit there and go like, oh, it takes us 1 drive. Every time they got the ball,
there isn't one drive.
This end.
They didn't even cross midfield besides getting to like the 48-yard line on a couple of occasions.
You were actively rooting for the offense to get off the field so that the real offense could come on and try and turn over Michigan.
Interception, yeah,
it was the only chance we had. And we had a chance at a pick.
God, Iowa versus Steelers. That's a hell of a game. 13-0.
13-0 is generous. The over-under in that game is what, 2.5 maybe.
2.5.
I mean, it's a safety wins it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you imagine what it's like to be an Iowa fan? Like, here are the teams. Like, you were watching those drives. Here are the teams they have played within 1 score this year: Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern, Minnesota. Wisconsin was 9, so I'm counting that. Purdue, Michigan State 10, Iowa State 7, Utah State 10.
It's a crime that they were able to play for a Big Ten championship.
Can you imagine if we were seeing a Michigan-Ohio State rematch instead of what we saw?
I can't believe that the Big Ten, next year it'll be the top 2 teams in the Big Ten, but the fact that the Big Ten West still got a bid.
I forget the exact stat, but I think in the last like solid number of years, the Big Ten West team has lost by double digits in the Big Ten championship game. I forget the exact number of years it's been, but
No, you don't understand. The Big Ten West is 0-10 in title games.
yeah, I mean they've lost all by double digits, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So like you take the fact, like the Big Ten West, this was only a 10-year thing. The Big Ten West did not win the Big Ten once. Not even by accident. You would have thought once you're getting into the game, because you're guaranteed to get a spot, a 10% chance isn't too much.
What's the Iowa rule? The Iowa rule that we said was add a 0 to everything. If it's 1st and 10, it's 1st and 100.
Yeah.
If
they're down 10-0, it's 100-0.
So in the fourth quarter yesterday, it was 260-0, and Iowa had a 3rd and 240.
Yeah.
It was a tough game to watch. Oh my gosh. We'll make this very, very quick. But Jack, you're very upset that Florida State is not in the college football playoff.
Yeah, they should have gotten. They were an undefeated 13-0 Power 5 champion out of the ACC. They beat every team on their freaking schedule. They were number 4 in the country, right? Then they win a game by double digits against the top 15 10-win team. And you have Texas and Alabama who each jump 4 spots. And Florida State falls out. Do you know what this look-ahead line was? Florida State, Louisville, 2 weeks ago before Travis got hurt. 9.5. Florida State covered the number against the top 15 team while only allowing 6 points in the line baked for Jordan Travis.
Yeah. But we were watching the games. That game was horrible. We were watching Iowa, Michigan over that game.
Florida State didn't lose a game. You cannot punish it. I mean, why not play? You don't even play the game then, right?
Can I just ask you, if you're putting in...
You say they looked bad. Okay, Washington's looked bad on several occasions.
No, but Florida State's
looked bad on several occasions. Florida State, even with their backup or third string, was undefeated.
But didn't lose. Washington looked great against Oregon, and Alabama looked great against Georgia.
Washington beat Washington State by 3. Arizona State by 3. Bama leaded a Hail Mary to beat Auburn.
But in the 2 weeks without Jordan Travis,
all day.
Without Jordan Travis, Florida State didn't look good once.
But why can't you assume that even if Travis is out all year, Florida State still goes undefeated? You can't punish them. Why punish them? They're undefeated. Power 5 champ.
So
let them play in the playoff.
One thing I'll ask you.
And the committee says, sorry, I'm going off for a little bit.
It's okay.
The committee says we're going to put in our 4 best teams. Fine. I understand that. Where is Georgia? They went there who they thought was the most deserving. Florida State is one of the most deserving. Georgia would pace Washington by 17 points. We all know that.
So if you're picking your top 4, if I said, Jack, rank the 4 best teams, who you think is the best team in the country?
Alabama.
You have Alabama in, you'd have Michigan in.
I'd have Michigan, I'd have Georgia. And I'd have
Ohio State.
No, I'd probably have Texas.
And no Washington.
No Washington.
Could you imagine if they left out?
Like they're saying the 4 best teams. And that's fine. But they didn't put in the 4 best because Georgia's not in there. They went most deserving. Florida State is deserving.
Ziggy, can I ask you a question here? And this is something that I was just thinking about. The Jordan Travis injury, since it happened a few weeks ago and we saw Florida State look bad without him, that's why I think they ultimately got next.
They won by...
No. Hold on, let me finish this.
They beat their rival on the road Saturday night, and then they won the conference ship by double digits. Like they allowed...
Let the man finish.
If Jordan Travis had torn his ACL in the fourth quarter of the Louisville game, I actually think Florida State would have gotten in the playoffs still. I think the timing of the injury to Travis and that fact that we saw them look bad. Like Cardale Jones, when we saw him come in for Ohio State, they won 50-0.
They won those games.
But they look so bad doing it.
But who can, like, we've seen these other teams also have their games where they look bad.
I know. It sucks for Florida State.
It does. It's bad. That was a bad move to exclude them. An undefeated Power 5 champ is yet to ever miss the playoff besides this year.
Ziggy, do you think the timing of the injury, like what I was just saying, had an impact?
I mean, surely it matters. If he gets injured earlier, you get more chances to show you're good. If he gets injured later, there's less bad tape on film. I mean, here's the thing, right? When they say they're picking to bring the 4 best teams, there's lots of factors that go into that. Part of that is strength of record. Part of that is how you've looked. Part of that is whether you think any key players are missing that would have an impact. So they considered a variety of factors. So I think people who are saying like the regular season is dead, none of these games matter, why not just go over the preseason power rankings? Like that doesn't make any sense, right? It's not like they're bringing LSU here, right? They're bringing an 11-1 Bama team whose only losses to another playoff team and who beat one of the best teams in the country. So I don't know. I mean, they were faced with a tough decision. There were really 5 teams that deserved to go, and I'm glad that this isn't going to be a problem into the future. But I have no problem with them saying, look, we think it's likely that Bama's going to give us a more competitive game. We think Washington, Texas, both those teams have earned it, and both of them are good. We think Bama's earned it, and they're good. I don't know.
If Michael Penix had torn his ACL against Oregon, Washington probably still gets in.
I think that it's...
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It's impossible to say. You don't get a lot of season-ending quarterback injuries right at the end of the season. It just doesn't happen.
It's very unfortunate for a team who, to me, when you beat everyone on your schedule in the Power 5, you win your championship against a ranked team, it's unfortunate to then have them just assume that, oh, no, Florida State's going to get killed. Let's put somebody else in.
No, I won't argue that at all.
You have a month. You have a month now.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
No, I totally get it. I totally get it.
I think they deserved a spot. They should have been in.
And it's great to have the 12 team next year, but I mean, ask any Florida State fan or player if they're excited for it next year, and they'll say F off.
I would have gone Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Bama. And left
they're just scared of a repeat of TCU Georgia. That's what actually caused this to be made, is they don't want another blowout like that.
See, I don't like that argument because TCU beat Michigan. And TCU, that's the fact.
No, I'm not saying that that's a good reason. I'm saying I think that's what's driving us. We're really scared of blowouts. We are confident that these 4 teams, no matter what happens, will not get blowouts.
Michigan Bama is a much better game. Everyone will be much more excited for it. It will be a better football game, I'm sure.
You look at ratings too, like having Bama in there against Michigan.
I don't think they care much about the ratings, really.
They'll probably have good ratings. I mean, these ratings are going to be phenomenal for Michigan, Bama. But when you look at that graphic and you saw the 4 teams, I sat back and I went, yeah, those are probably the 4 best in the country. And you could swap out, like Georgia and Ohio State.
Georgia would annihilate Washington.
Yeah, Georgia probably would. Georgia and Ohio State, though, I thought as well. If no one talked about Ohio State, who I didn't think should get in, but Ohio State beat Penn State. They went on the road and beat Notre Dame, and they have the best. Like, talk about Alabama having a good loss. Talk about Georgia having a good loss. Their loss is by 6 at Michigan.
And they had the ball. The chance
and then
to
the ball
game
with the
too.
chance to win. Ohio State fans have to be sitting back saying, wow, like, I mean, we just got dealt a crappy card as well.
Yeah, I was calling for an emergency 8-team playoff.
It would have been great.
Well,
last year, Ohio State got in, or Michigan, who got in under the same situation? Yeah, Ohio State got in under the same situation, right?
Yeah, because Ohio State and Michigan both got in. Yeah.
Jeez. It was an exciting selection day, though. We haven't had that since the first year with TCU and Ohio State as the 4.
Bama gets their revenge on Texas in a couple weeks, and that'll be that.
Florida State will have a championship banner hanging up. Like
As
UCF.
they should.
I mean, people have claimed national championships for less. I thought they shouldn't even be going to the bowl game, because if they lose the bowl game, they can't claim it anymore. But if they win the bowl game, they're having a parade.
Oh, as they should.
If Florida State goes out there and beats, imagine Georgia. We'll probably have players resting too, but watch them go beat Georgia.
Florida State and Liberty should play in the UCF national championship game.
I can't believe we'll wrap up with this here. I bet Air Force when they were 8-0 to win their conference championship. I was just like goofing around. I didn't put a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I told you it was foolish.
They lost 4 straight games. People were talking about them going undefeated and potentially threatening for like a major bowl game. And after I put my money on them, they got blown up by Army. Like ran out of their own building by Army.
Minus odds bet.
That has to be one of the worst bets of the year.
It's
for
up
anyone.
there. With Iowa team totals up there too.
Oh, yeah. Like non-college basketball games. Jeez. Washington was good though against Oregon.
Washington was good. But
Bama, double down.
Washington, Bama.
All right, we'll wrap up there. The Week 13 NFL reaction show. Enjoy your week. We'll see you for the Week 14 predictions. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. See you later.